every machine shop looks the same, acts the same, but how you do your job, I need to know more about what you do and how
Mm,
you do it so that I can understand how to work with you instead of against you. Nobody thinks when they get up in the morning, they put their pants on, they jump in their vehicle and go to work, they assume that they're coming home tonight. That's not a guarantee.
yeah.
I can give you examples where I've gone to places where guys have gotten hurt, and it's all because they thought, hey, I got to, it's only going to take a second. It's not going to make a big difference. I've done it a million times. If you guy's an idiot, he doesn't know what he's talking about. What I tell people is I've been there. Don't tell me that. I know. I know what it's like. I've been out there. I put a harness on at 110 degrees. I was out there at 8 degrees. I know what it's like to have to do these things. But as we do these things, we show you an easier way.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Better Together podcast. My name is Sean Sunzvold, your host for today's show, and I'm joined, as always, by my partner in life and business, Kelly Sunzvold. Today's guest is someone who shows up every day with one mission, making sure people go home safe. Jeffery Barnett, owner of Boston Safety and Compliance, is a seasoned safety consultant with deep expertise in industries where risk is real. Industries like construction, manufacturing, and oil and gas. With a background in business and a clear passion for people, Jeff partners with small to mid-sized companies to build both compliance and culture because checking boxes simply isn't enough. For him, safety is personal. What sets Jeff apart is how he blends technical knowledge with human connection. He doesn't just teach the rules, he helps teams understand why safety matters and how it shows up in everyday decisions on the job. From the field to the boardroom, he's committed to creating workplaces where safety isn't a policy, it's a shared mindset. We're so glad to have him on with us today to talk about leadership, responsibility, and what it really takes to build a culture where everyone gets to go home the same way they showed up. Jeff, thanks so much for taking time today to talk with us, and welcome to the Better Together podcast.
Well, thank you for having me.
Awesome. So glad you're here. Let's just dive right in, right? So
Okay.
let's start with just a little bit of context for our listeners. Give us a little background on you and your career and what got you interested in becoming a safety consultant.
Gosh. Um, I worked in the construction industry after getting out of the police. I left the police right after my wife passed away. So I went into construction. It was supposed to be a stop loss job. Basically, I was going to be there for 6 months while I figured out what I was going to do. 8 years later, got another degree. While working on that degree, I went into my safety guy because I figured, hey, I was working too many hours and I didn't want to do my dissertation. He helped me do my dissertation. He gave me all the research. I didn't have to do anything. But he then shut the door and said, now let's talk. And he planted the seed in my head. I said, no, 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 it's never going to happen. Never, 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 never. On my way home, my company truck ended up pulling into a different university that had schooling for safety. And somehow that weekend I was in safety classes. I then end up working for that guy. I end up taking over his company. 13 years later, here I am working all over the United States, mostly in Oklahoma and Texas, teaching people how to be safe. I have a high respect for everybody. I was just on a job site where state OSHA was there, and the person who's running the inspections like, okay, Jeff, tell me what we need to do. So I know I have that respect out there, and people do respect what I do and how I do what I do. But it took a long time, a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience, and listening to a lot of people. See, people think that coming out of college, hey, my book tells me you're doing it right. Well, that's not the way it works. You really need to talk to the individuals. One of the cases I did was I walked into a company, precision machine shop. It was my second precision machine shop I ever worked. And I walked up to one of the guys and says, hey, tell me what you do. Guy looked at me in a goofy face and said, I'm a precision machinist. What do you think I do? I said, no, no, I know you're a precision machinist. Tell me what you do. And he looked at me funny and it's an old timer and he goes, let me show you what I do. He realized I wasn't asking a general question. I was asking him, because every machine shop looks the same, acts the same, but how you do your job, I need to know more about what you do and how
Mm,
you do it so that I can understand how to work with you instead of against you. So a lot of people don't understand what that means until you break it down to them. So when I walk into a place, one of my questions is, what do you do? Now, I'm considered one of the experts in fall protection and roofing industry. And I've worked roofing companies all over the United States. And when I go there, I ask them, all right, what do you guys do? How do you do it? And why do you do it the way you do it? And I just did one in Dayton, Ohio, and they go, well, this is what we do. I says, okay, but kind of tell me a little bit more. And they go, why? I says, well, every part of the country does it differently. So tell me how you do it so that I can take my classes and make them better for you. And when they realized that, hey, I understood their industry, I understood what they were doing, it made the class better and they learned more. They were willing to learn more.
Nice, nice. And you kind of alluded to it a little bit, but for those listening who may not be familiar with it, tell us a little bit about kind of what your job entails.
Wow. And it tells them a lot more than people think it does. There's a lot
I
of
bet.
paperwork. I try to avoid the paperwork programs and things like that. Mostly what I do is I teach the OSHA certification classes. A lot of times I do inspections, and the worst things I do, unfortunately, is I have to do investigations. I'm in the middle of what they call a fatality right now. We don't like doing that. But
Right.
I'm there not only to find out why it happened, but how can we stop it from happening again?
Mhm.
Mm.
I'm there to talk to the guys, and this is what they don't understand is when I go out there, I'm there to talk to the guys, not just to teach them, but to find out what they're doing and how they're doing it. So maybe I can modify it a little bit or understand why they do what they do so that I can protect them to make sure that they're, I say guys, but women too. But most of the people I teach are men. So we try to help them help themselves learn a better way, or at least understand why they're doing what they do, and can we modify it just a little bit so you do not get hurt. So it's more than just going out and teaching a class or going out and just saying, hey, I know what happened. You got to look at the whole picture and bring everybody in and talk about it.
Mhm.
I think that's something, that you mentioned in there is like, we kind of talked about at the beginning, right? Everybody coming home safe.
Mhm.
And when people go to a construction site or, the people who work those industries, that's their expectation, right? That they're going to go to a place to work, they're going to do the job and they're going to come home safely. And, you just kind of mentioned you're in the middle of a situation where somebody didn't, right? Which means there's a lot of, things that have to happen and change in order to make sure that that doesn't happen again. Right. So
Correct.
right, catching right on with that. And, I think that's so
Everybody
important.
thinks, nobody thinks when they get up in the morning, they put their pants on, they jump in their vehicle and go to work. They don't even think about it. Okay. They assume that they're coming home tonight.
Hmm.
That's not a guarantee. I don't care what industry you're in.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a story where an oil company that's no longer around because they made some mistakes, but it was funny. One of their people were coming to work and got hit.
Mm.
Okay. Something happened on the highway. Person never thought it was going to happen. Okay. It wasn't her fault, but the company said, you know what? We need to do something about that. What do you do about something you have no control over? Well, they decided to find a company and they did defensive tactics training on driving a vehicle because they were afraid someone's going to come home, not make it to work, not going to go home. They didn't have to do that. That's when we talk about doing it a little going further than they have to. But those things happen all the time. People think that they don't think that nothing's going to happen. I've done this a ton of times. I've done it a million times. It's never going to happen to me. I know what I'm doing. I'm not like the idiot down the road that got hurt. But that's what they don't understand. It only takes one time to make a
Yeah.
small mistake and you're going to get hurt. I can give you examples where I've gone to places where guys have gotten hurt, and it's all because they thought, hey, I got to, it's only going to take a second.
Yeah.
It's not going to make a big difference. I've done it a million times. I've seen people doing it a million times. I say if you guy's an idiot, he doesn't know what he's talking about. What I tell people is I've been there. Don't tell me that. I know. I know what it's like. I've been out there. I put a harness on at 110 degrees. I was out there at 8 degrees. I know what it's like to have to do these things. But as we do these things, we show you an easier way. And so, they say, well, it takes time. Well, once you get used to it, you don't realize you're even doing it.
Yeah.
Big thing is safety glasses. Guys, I hear guys in the roofing industry say, residential, oh, they get sweat in my eyes. It doesn't work. I'm not going to wear them. They're not going to help me. Right up until, a nail flies up and blinds them. The thing is you get used to it. I wore safety glasses all the time. Matter of fact, I don't go outside without safety glasses because I made it a habit. Every one of my
Hmm.
guys have made it a habit. Because if you do make it a habit, you don't even realize you're wearing it. You don't realize you're even doing it. I grab glasses and don't even think about it because it's a habit.
Yeah.
Okay. It takes 6 to 7 7,000 times what they call a nomenclature to do something where it becomes natural. Like I can tell people, I says, all right, tell me how you tie your shoe. Everybody goes, oh, that's easy. Oh, yeah? Tell me how to tie a shoe. I said, better yet, I got parents, and I always say, hey, anybody got a parent? I said, you got kids. Okay. First time that you taught your child how to tie your shoe, did you stop for a second? And they all go, you see them go, oh, yeah. Yeah, because you know how to tie your shoe, but try to tie it for a child and explain it to a child, okay? Because you're training them.
Yeah.
They've realized, wow, you're right.
Mhm.
So when you get to that 7,000 times doing it, you don't even realize how to do it. Most people don't know how to tie a shoe, but they do it every single day.
Yeah.
Think about it for
Yeah.
a second. You have to stop and tell me. You have to stop and think, well, how do I do that? You do it every day. I'm not calling you stupid because you're not stupid, but you don't because you're doing it so much. It's like tying a tie. When I was in high school, I wore a suit jacket and tie every day because I went to a Catholic school. To this day, I close my eyes to tie a tie because that's the only way I know how to tie a tie.
Yeah. It's one thing when it's that habit, right?
Hmm.
And you're used to it, but trying to explain it to somebody else, you literally have to, in your brain, break down those steps for somebody who doesn't know it and go step by step by step. And so,
Correct.
and I think there's something there with that, like, that to kind of move on to just some other questions here of like, as you've grown your business over the last 10 years, which, for anyone listening, that's no small feat, right? Considering most businesses fail in the first 5 years. And then
Yep.
there's another percentage that, fails before 10 years. So you're 10 years in, right? You
Yep.
figured a lot of things out. What has been some of the challenges you faced in getting to this point with your business?
I have a unique business, so it's a little bit more difficult for me to answer that question like anybody else. I can't give you the keys. Why? Because I can't market my company. I can't do a lot of things that other people can do to make their company better. What I had to do was fight, struggle, and explain to everybody. I had to fight for every client that I got. And as I got better, those people gave me clients. I did mine the old-fashioned way. And let me tell you something, don't ever do it the way I did it. I mean, I'm being honest because there's so much out there to learn. There's so many people have made mistakes. You can learn from their mistakes. My mistakes is because unfortunately I'm building a company like I'm in 1960s without internet. Yes, I do have a website. Yes, I do text. Yes, I do LinkedIn. Yes, I do all that. But nobody wants me. Nobody trusts me. I'm the person that nobody wants on the job site because I'm the last ditch. I'm like insurance. But if you have a widget or you have something that's tangible, something that people can make money off, or they have something physically in their hand, yes, it's easier. But you make a lot of mistakes. Make sure you have a good bookkeeper. Make sure you have the right people behind you. Make sure you have the right, if you have to do education, make sure you have the right certifications. Make sure you explain all this to people. Make sure that you are pushing forward. And can you fail still? Yes. The pitfalls are very simple. I tell people the stupidest book I ever read in my life, I read every 2 years. Who Moved My Cheese? And everybody goes, why? I says, spend a night, read it. And they go, I says, you're going to be one of those four mice. And they go, yeah, I'm this person. Well, you might that person when you started, but you move around. You're never the same mouse every time
Mm,
you read the book. But what it tells you is, hey, stop being the one that's going to not do anything. You always, just because you're making money in this area, it may not be there tomorrow. So you need to start thinking. I tell everybody when you play the short game, you make money very quickly. Problem with short game is it's not there very long. So, but it takes a long time to play the long game. What you do in the beginning, you play short game and a little bit long game. And as you get a little bit more money, you play more long game, less short game. Eventually, that the long game starts to come in. Once the long game comes in, you keep playing the long game. Why? I tell people I work a year to a year and a half to get a client. Why? But those clients will last forever. They'll last years and years and years. That's in my business. So know when to play the short game and know when to play the long game. Is there an algorithm for that? Absolutely not. Good luck because it's not there. But you've got to look at your business. You've got to talk to people that are in your business. The one thing I like about the industry I'm in, if I have a question or I'm stumped, I make a couple calls. Even my competitor will not let me make a mistake. Why?
mm,
Because if I make a mistake, I hurt someone and makes them look bad.
yeah.
Someone calls me, I'm helping them out. Anything I can do to help them out. Hey, you want to borrow equipment? Hey, I'll give you equipment. I want you to succeed. Even though you're my competitor, I want you to succeed. That's a little weird in most industries, but that's because we have a tough industry. I watch too many people come and too many people go in my industry. I can't afford for someone to come in and hurt my industry. So if they're new, I help them out. That's how I built my business, one person at a time.
Mm.
It's not
Yeah.
the right way to build a business because I'm telling you, if you have a different type of business, you need to talk to a lot of people, listen to a lot of people, sit down and don't take the stupid courses online and things like that. Hey, I've got the right way to build a business. You're just wasting your money. Talk to people that you know in your own community. First of all, those people are online. They're talking about a general industry of a business. They're just trying to sell you something. You talk to a person that's in your industry or in your area. They know more about your area and how it works than general across the United States. Because I could build one business in Oklahoma City and it'd be totally different building it in New York City.
Mm.
Not because it's cultural or even Duluth, Minnesota. Okay, it you have to know what's going on in your neck of the woods for you to succeed sometimes in these when we're talking about small business, we're not talking about big businesses. We're talking small businesses. We're talking under $1 million. You need to really talk to people out there doing not just your business, but someone successful in any business in your area.
Mm.
Let them tell you, hey, this is how I did it. This is what you need to do. This is who you need to talk to. Well, that's not in my industry. Yet still talk to that person. There's a guy
Mhm.
here in Oklahoma City called his name's Jack Warner. If you don't know Jack, you don't know Jack because he knows everybody. And Jack's been in the business for years and years and years. He built a small business and inspecting houses and built and commercial buildings. He literally teaches people how to do his job. And they go, well, you're ruining it because I'm never going to ruin my business. I'll keep teaching and teaching and
Yeah.
teaching. He finds that it doesn't hurt him. It actually helps him.
Mhm.
Everybody knows Jack. Jack's a great guy. And he'll sit down and talk to you. That's the kind of person there's a Jack in every city. I don't care. You
Hmm.
just need to find that person. Find that person. That person will introduce you to more people. Those people will be willing to help because they want you to succeed. Because the better you succeed, the better that you understand. Even though you're in a different industry, if I succeed, I'm bringing money into my economy. That means that other people have more money to spend on that person's products. So we
Yeah.
all want to succeed and we all want to help each other succeed. Now, if you find someone that doesn't want to help you succeed, they're not, look at them in 10 years, they're probably not going to be there.
Yeah, that's true. We talk about this a lot within our business and within this podcast even about the power of relationships and the power of using your network. Your network is your net worth and you're only as powerful as your network. These are things that are really, really important. It's not about making the easy buck. It's about building those relationships with those people like Jack or even like your clients. And, I think that's the best way to grow a business is through those relationships. I agree with you on that for
That
sure.
word you just said, client, you can build more clients through clients. Don't be afraid. One of the things I was afraid of,
Yeah.
and I know you were about to bring this up, is don't be afraid to ask clients for clients.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get more referrals off my clients than I do anything else.
Yeah.
You know,
I believe
um,
it. I believe it because
yes,
you've already built that relationship and you're extending that relationship now
yeah.
to someone else. It's going beyond yourself and your client. It's going beyond that. So, as you work through different challenges in your career, because you have a very diverse, lots of different challenges that come up, do you have a
Yeah.
process that helps you get through those challenges?
I surround myself with intelligent people that listen to me and talk to me and help me out.
There you go.
One of the things you mentioned, and I want to make sure this is people ask me why does it cost me more? I mean, I'm not the most expensive, but why should I pay you more than I pay some kid coming out of college? Not just my experience, not just my knowledge, but the most important thing that you just brought up. I'm going to use a different wording, but I call it my Rolodex. It's up here in the head. A Rolodex, if you're not old enough to know what it is, it's one of those little things you see on a desk and it had it, the receptionist knew everybody. She had a Rolodex and she could flip through it. I call it my Rolodex because it's a name brand that I know. And I tell people, you're not paying me just for my education, you're paying me for my Rolodex. And they go, what do you
Mm.
mean? I said, if I don't know something or if I need something for you, I have a phone call to make. I had a client call me in Texas and goes, hey, I got this issue. It's on a special issue. I says, I don't do that, but hey, give me about a week. I'll give you a call back. Made a few phone calls. I called the right person and I called them back. I said, this is the person you need to talk to. And they go, how did you know that? I says, my Rolodex told me to go see
Mm-hmm.
this person. I says, they're going to help you out with this special permit that you need. It's a permit that I had no clue at. I kind of knew what it was, but I'm not in that industry. But it was in the safety industry in just a different part of the world. And I knew someone who knew that. And so she gave me the information, gave me all of it because she knew who I was, wrote it all down, and I passed it on to a client. No, did I make any money off that? No, but I did make good contact with my clients.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And they're
Yes.
going to come back to me even if they need something else. Use your Rolodex, like you just said. It doesn't matter what industry. Build that Rolodex. I have probably several stacks of business cards.
Yeah.
I don't throw them away unless I know they're useless. Because you never know going through those things who you can call when
Mm-hmm.
someone else needs something.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how the referral work systems. Um, and the better your Rolodex, the more you're worth to the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love that.
You're really leaning on people around you that are, and you're really prioritizing the client. I was talking with a client this morning about like our goal, and sometimes we talk ourselves out of jobs, but we know that it's going to be best for the client.
Yes.
And, and if you have that kind of integrity as a business where you're okay with talking yourself out of the job because it's better for the client, that's a
You
win.
know, that's, I'm glad you brought that up because what you just said is not something I would normally talk about. But when a job comes up and you want it, you want it, you want it, you want it, but you go, there's just something about this job I know I can't do. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not quite qualified for that job. Giving it to someone else, even though you lost that money, just like you just said, gives you integrity. And what it says to them is, hey,
Mhm.
and I'm going to keep calling this guy back because he's going to tell me or her the truth. And that's what people want today. People are lacking that in business. They'll
Mm-hmm.
take a job they can't do, okay, just so that they can make the money. And we do this in the beginning of our careers or in the beginning of our building our business because we need the money, 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 money. And I have a young man who he had a bad name for his tree company. We got it changed. He took a job and he wanted the job so bad, he underbid himself by accident. He had enough integrity and they called him every name in the book. He goes, you know what? I could have walked away from this job legally and left you high and dry. He goes, no, he completed the job and it cost him $2,000. But you know what? Someone saw him do that and they go, why did you do that? He goes, my name is my work. He goes, I lost money. I had to pay my guys out of my pocket. He goes, my kids ate, but I didn't eat that night. Guy goes, I like you. You know that guy did? His guys hired him more than once, and he made more money in the long run because of his
Yeah.
integrity. But you can't keep doing that. What you got to do is that's not the job for me, or don't
Yeah.
underbid yourself. Um, there's times that I know the kind of people they are, and I'll just use small figures. I'll say $4,000 for that job. I know they're gonna come back and they're gonna try to knock me down. I put something in my head how much I want. And if they knock me down and I get them to a point, if it's above what I wanted, I take the job. If not, I just don't do it. And there's some people I give them, I know that whatever I say, they're going to take. I never rip them off. It's one of the things I never do is never rip anyone off just to get an extra buck here or there. Okay. You tell them the truth. Hey, I mean, people fly me all over the country. I tell them, hey, I'm flying. This is what it's going to cost. And they go, well, you can spend more money. I said, nope, this is what it's going to cost. And I always pad it just in case something happens. Same thing with getting a vehicle and getting a hotel. I tell them, this is my average. And they go by the average, even if it's less, charge us the average. We don't care. Why? Because I
Mm-hmm.
told them the truth. You say, oh, I couldn't find I get a hotel for $175. And they're like, I tell them about $150. No matter where you're, it's about $150 for a comfortable business hotel. Most of the time, it's about 90 to 120 bucks. They don't care. They say they much rather pay me the 150 because I told them I will look for something around 150. They'll say, don't even bother telling us, just charge us the 150. Why? Because I was honest with them. And that's what you got to be. If you're not honest with somebody and they find out,
Mhm.
you just
Yeah.
lost integrity.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
for sure. And one of the things, and I'm just kind of relating to the story of like the guy who undercharged for his work. It's funny. We had a website we did a little bit ago that we kind of did the same thing, right? We thought it was going to be X cost, and it ended up to do it right. It ended up costing more money. We didn't go back to the client. We said, look, we'll eat it because we quoted you the initial thing, and It's definitely built a good relationship there with them. And
Mhm.
one of the things that you and I talked about when we had our first initial phone call was the cost of safety now
Hmm.
versus safety later, right? So tell me about a time when someone waited to do your recommendations and it ended up costing them significantly more than it would have when you presented your findings.
Matter of fact, the fatality I'm doing right now.
Mm.
I quoted them a price. They said no, no, no. Then when it happened, now it's going to cost me more money because now I not only have to get you back to where you were. Okay. I now have to deal with OSHA. I now have to deal with a lawsuit. When I go to a lawsuit, I make more money. I make $250 an hour when I work a lawsuit. The client's like, that's a lot of money. I said, well, then go talk to your lawyer. Lawyer says
Mhm.
he's charging how much? Says you better ring him in and sign him now. He goes, because everybody's going to hire him for that money, and he's going to go against you. And you don't want him
Mm,
against you. So it costs them because now they have to spend more money for me to fix everything.
mhm,
And or the person that tells you, oh, I'm never going to use you until they get caught, and then you fix it, and they're like, I said, you could have saved yourself that big fine. You could have saved yourself humility, the way you look. Now, OSHA has a red flag against you. Every time they come on, they're going to say, hey, you've done this before. So it's up to each individual. They got to understand that when we do these things for these people, we're helping you in the long run.
Jeff, thank you so much. It's been a really
Appreciate it.
good discussion. I love the safety aspect around it, and I think there's a lot of businesses that can really, that
Yes.
should take advantage of you and your knowledge and expertise. So I can't encourage everyone enough. If you're in one of those industries that Jeff works in, take the time, reach out. And I know he can do some things to help your business. Jeff, thanks for being here today. We really appreciate your time, and yeah, hope to do it again sometime soon.
Thank you. I hope to see you guys again. Thank you very much.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye bye, guys.